You may have been told at some time to let go, or maybe you've read about letting go. But what does this mean? I can let go of a pencil and let it fall to the floor. I can let go of my partner's hand. But when we're told to let go, it's normally in relation to thought. But how can you let go of thought? You can't hold on to thought in order to let it go, can you? Thought isn't a tangible entity, just as anxiety or stress aren't. So, as we're clearly not talking about a physical holding on to something, we must be talking about mentally holding on and letting go. But still, how can you hold on to a thought in order to let it go? Thoughts are transient and flow through you. You can't hook them like a duck in a fairground game. Trying to hold on to a thought is like trying to catch air. So, if you can't hold on to a thought, then why do you need to let it go? So it must be the feeling that you have to let go. But the feeling arises via thought, even if you aren't aware of the thought you had. And how can you be aware of every thought you have? So if you experience the feeling via thought, then we're back to asking, how can you let thought go? Well, as you know, you can't actively let thought go. Have you ever tried not to think about something? Letting go is more about allowing the idea of something to disperse like a mirage. What looked fixed and real 1 minute is revealed to be an optical illusion. Let's look at some of the ways that it might be helpful to see through the illusion. Letting go of the past. When your mind takes you back into the past can appear real and true, but you know that this isn't the case. You know that the past is a fiction because you're viewing the past event through whatever glasses you're currently wearing, and so will see whatever you remember through the lens of your current state of mind. And you also know that research tells us that memories are not to be trusted. So why is it important to be able to let go of the past? Many people cling on to a version of the past and live their current life through that prism. If someone feels that they've been hurt in the past, they may be hyper-focused on not being hurt in the present without realizing that if this is what they focus on, this is what they're likely to experience in the present. They're being hurt in the present by their thoughts about the past. The past is over. We all like to think back to happy times, but why would someone torture themselves with past pain or failure? Time to let go. So if, as we've said, you can't let go of something that you can't hold on to, how do you do this? By bringing yourself back to this moment. What is happening right now? Is whatever hurt you in the past happening to you in this moment, anywhere but in your head? If it is, get out of there. But if it isn't, acknowledge this and pick up a book, call a friend, watch Netflix, and allow those thoughts to disappear. The more you do this, the easier it will become. We've all heard the phrase that time is a healer. How? Time itself is a construct and isn't going to turn up with a first aid box. It's because when something happens, you tend to think about it constantly and you find yourself down the same neural pathway sparking similar thoughts. But each day you do less of this until you hardly ever buy a ticket to get on that train. It has nothing to do with time and all to do with how often your thoughts go in that direction. Maybe you can let go of the idea of how things should be. That's a good illusion to see through. You might get an idea of how an event should be, and then when the event doesn't match up to the idea you had, you get upset. You forget that the event in your head isn't real. Or you think about how a friendship or relationship should be, and then expect other people to act like you, and then feel hurt when they aren't acting in the way that you think they should. Thinking things should be a certain way is a surefire recipe for disappointment because we're all living in separate realities and everyone has their idea of how people should behave or how events should turn out. So, how to let this go? Recognize that the idea arose in you. You had a version of events that looked reasonable or exciting to you, but someone else had a different version. Or maybe circumstances changed. Accepting what is rather than what should be allows you to let go of wanting things to the way you think they should be. How about letting go of making things mean something about you? You may not always acknowledge that you're the centre of your story because, well, that sounds as if you're being selfish, doesn't it? You might even say that it's not about you. But is that true? Innocently, everything is about you, which is why you think that everything relates to you. How many times has someone in your life said something fairly innocuous that you've taken to mean that they think a certain way about you? You view everything through your version of life, and then you think that everything relates to you. If someone at work says they have a lot of work to do, you might think that they're saying they have more work to do than you, or that you're not working as hard as they are. If your child doesn't pass a test at school, you might think that this means something about you as a parent. Or you make your moods mean something about you. If you have anxious thoughts, you think that makes you an anxious person. If a friend is diagnosed with a disease, you think that means that you're going to get it too. But remember, the self that you think you are is a conglomerate of beliefs, ideas and values that are nothing to do with your innate self. So nothing others say or do, or that you think about yourself, can mean anything about you. It's impossible. If you believe that you're anxious or lazy, you might present yourself in this way because you believe that thought. But that doesn't make it real. Whilst it's absolutely understandable that you think everything relates to you, and it's difficult not to think in this way, you don't have to make anyone else's, or even your own, actions or words mean anything about you. Letting go of making things mean anything about who you are is huge, and the way to do this is to ask yourself, is this real? Did someone say that, or did I interpret their words? Are you making up a story about someone else's actions? When you see through the illusion that anything means something about you, you let go of the feeling. So, whilst you can't let go of thought and you don't have to tie yourself into an even tighter ball of tangled thoughts trying to work out how to let go of thought, letting go is easy. You only realise that you're holding on when you let go. Imagine holding your breath and then letting go. You don't have to consciously breathe in and out. It happens all by itself. Or knowing that when you sleep, you let go of being awake. You don't know when this happens. You only know that you've been asleep because you wake up. The system does this for you. Just like the system allows thought to flow through you effortlessly. And so letting go happens all by itself when you stop holding on.